Hello and welcome to the High Performance Quest. In my previous video, I discussed with you a very important point, and that was true mastery and high performance can only be achieved in your field of inclination. If you think that you are working in some other field towards which you are not mentally inclined, then you cannot become a high performer or a master in that field because you are not mentally inclined towards that field. This is the point which you understood in my previous video. If you have not watched that previous video, I really want you to watch that video first. I have attached the link that might be coming somewhere upwards. Go to that video and watch that video in detail and then come to this video. In this video, I would be discussing with you 3 ways through which you can find your field of inclination. If you are stuck in your profession and you think that this is not really something that I want to do in my life, then you can use these 3 basic ways to find a field in which you can say that, yes, this is my field of inclination. Normally people tend to find their field of inclination with these 3 techniques. However, if you are the exception, if you think that after going with these 3 techniques, you are not sure about what really is your field of inclination, I would want you to think more deeply about what interests you, and you should be getting more self-aware about yourself. We would be covering these topics later on in the upcoming weeks, but right now it is generally possible that with these 3 techniques, if you go deeper and think more deeper into these 3 techniques, you will find your field of inclination. So, without any further delay, let's get started with these 3 techniques. Well, the first thing that you have to do is you have to go back to your childhood and go back to the age when you were young and in your teenage. You had that desire inside you that I want to become a doctor, or I want to become an army officer, or I want to become an engineer, or any other field or any other inclination. But normally what happens is the society takes that desire away from you. It can be because parents want their children to become something else, or the culture of the society doesn't permit that person to join that profession. Or it can be many other reasons because of which you might have forgone your passion or your field of inclination and have joined the field to which you were not inclined at that point of time, and you are not inclined to the field right now, but you are working in that field. So the first step is you have to identify what you really wanted to become when you were young. And if you think that you have found out what you wanted to become when you were young, and if becoming that excites you even today, then this is your field of inclination. But there are many cases in which the person who was passionate about a particular field in his childhood or in his young age, he or she is not passionate about it when they grew older. If this is the case with you, you have to find out what are you passionate about right now at this point of time. And this is the second way through which you can identify your field of inclination. Your field of inclination can only be the one for which you are passionate about. If you are not passionate about a particular field, then it can never be your field of inclination and you cannot become a master or a high performer in that field. So, the second tip is you have to find out what excites you, what is the profession for which you are passionate about, what is the skill that you are passionate about. If you are fond of writing and you think that you can become a great copywriter right now, but you didn't have that inclination in your childhood, then it's fantastic even then. You can become a good copywriter if you are passionate about this field at this point of time. Or if you think that you can become a very good web designer, but you were not inclined towards that field in your childhood. You can even then become a master in this field because this is your passion according to you. So the second tip is you have to identify what you are passionate about right now. Well, the third and the final way through which, in my view, you can identify your field of inclination is identifying the area in which you can work for long hours and never get bored. If you think that you have such an interest in a particular field, then this can be your field of inclination. There are many teachers who can keep on teaching for hours and hours and they never get bored. For them, this is the field of their inclination. They are passionate about teaching, they are passionate about creating a difference in the quality of students' life. So, their field of inclination is teaching. Likewise, many writers have a habit of writing for hours and hours and never getting bored. So, if you think that you have an interest in a particular area for which you can work for quite a few hours and you are never getting bored in that field, then this can be your field of inclination. Well, these were the three ways through which, in my view, you can find your field of inclination. I hope you would be working on them, thinking deeply into these three areas, and if you don't know what really is your field of inclination, then I'm sure that working on these three areas, you can find a field in which you are mentally inclined and you can say that yes, this is my life's task, and then you should be working to transition yourself into that field and become a real master and a high performer in that field. Well, before wrapping up this video, I want to discuss with you a few important points with respect to your field of inclination. The first and most important point is always know your particular niche in which you want to become a master and a high performer. If you think that you are inclined towards, for example, if you think that you are inclined towards copywriting, copywriting is a very broader field. There are many areas in copywriting in which you can become a master and high performer. For example, B2B copywriting, health copywriting, financial copywriting, sales letter copywriting, or you can even write white papers, case studies, you can write web content, you can become a blogger. So it is very important to find out your particular niche to which you are inclined to, and this would only come with proper research. So identify your niche by doing proper research and finding out your true inclination. The second thing is, if you think that your current field is not really the one to which you are inclined to, then you have to follow the rebel's path. You have to mentally reject your current profession, and you have to start transitioning yourself towards your field of inclination. In this, you will have to make a plan, and this might take a year or two or even more, but you have to realize that if you do not work in these 2 or 3 years to transition yourself into your field of inclination, you will be troubled for the rest of your life. So it's better to make your 2 or 3 current upcoming years more stressful and more, you might have to do more work in these 2 to 3 years, but your next years that would come ahead after this transitional phase would be very flourishing. So you should be making this change, and frankly, this change should not be done abruptly. Doing abrupt changes in your profession is no strategy, and you would be getting in a lot of trouble if you change your profession abruptly and immediately. Make a strategy of 2 to 3 years and go for proper education, study the particular skill or the field in which you want to work, and make up a plan of about 2 to 3 years by which you would be eventually and slowly transitioning yourself into your new field. So keep this thing in mind and plan accordingly. Well, the third and the final thing that I want to tell you is to let go of the past. and think about the brighter future that is coming ahead. Many people think that if they transition themselves into another field, it would appear as if they have wasted their past 5 years or 10 years or so. This is not at all the case. The career keeps on moving and your profession keeps on moving and life keeps on moving and growing. And you, with respect to your profession, you have to grow and you have to adapt and you have to change accordingly. If you think that you are currently working in a profession that you are not inclined towards, then frankly you cannot, once again I'm telling you, you cannot become a master in that field. To become a master and to flourish and to become successful, you have to follow your field of inclination. And for this, you will have to forego, you will have to leave behind the past you have spent in your current profession, and you will have to move on to a new profession, and you have to transition yourself into that new field of inclination. So think about the transition positively and go for that change. Well, this was all that I wanted to discuss about the field of inclination. Next week on Monday, I would be discussing with you another fascinating topic that relates to your profession and mastery. So stay tuned to my channel. I would really want you to like this video and subscribe to my channel so that you may get notifications for all of my upcoming videos. This is Ramiz Ahmed signing off from the High Performance Quest. Hope to see you next week. Thank you.